without a strategy, you make those mistakes, spending in the wrong place, creating the wrong kind of video, and not matching your customer.
Today, I'm very excited to be joined by A. Lee Judge. If you don't know who Lee is, he is the co-founder of Content Monster, a content marketing agency that helps marketers publish engaging video and audio content at scale. He's also the host of the Business of Marketing podcast, and his forthcoming book is called Cash: Keys to Creating an Effective Revenue Machine from Sales and Marketing Cohesion. Lee, welcome to the show. How you doing today?
Hey, Mike, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Super awesome to have you here, Lee. Today, Lee and I are going to explore developing a video content strategy. Now, before we go there, Lee, I would love to hear a little bit of your story. How'd you get into marketing? How'd you get into content marketing? Start wherever you want to start.
Yeah, well, as a lot of content marketers or marketers in general, we have stories that don't follow a technical line of getting into marketing, right? So I've always been a creator, a content creator, whether it was photography, graphic design, or music production ever since high school. But I also come from an entrepreneurial family. So making money from my art was kind of a natural part of it. It was a reason to do all the art was, hey, if you're going to do it, you might as well be part of a business. So I started my first company, which was a DJ company in high school. And by the end of college, that business had grown to a company with contracts with businesses all over the city, even with the university that I was attending. And
I have to ask, did you have a DJ name? Did you have like a special name? Was it DJ Judge or something like that?
It was DJ Judgmental.
Oh, okay.
Because I had my minor was psychology. So,
I just had to ask, keep going.
Yeah, it's DJ Judgmental. So, that business, I didn't realize it, but through my father's business and my own business, I was doing a lot of marketing to grow those businesses and hadn't thought of it as marketing, but I was learning the fundamentals of it. And also I had contracts, a lot of contracts, and I had 3 DJ systems. And at some point I needed to track all of that. And I began building a CRM for my DJ company. The word CRM was not my vocabulary. I needed something to keep track of all those people and companies and businesses. So I began building CRMs, moved to Atlanta, and got hired by a company in a marketing position and ended up building like 7 CRMs for them and still didn't know what I was doing in terms of where it was going to take me. I ended up working for a software company, being their Salesforce administrator, using Pardot and Marketo and all this marketing automation because I was a data geek. But I also was a very creative person. I was still DJing. I was still touring the world on the weekends, literally overseas back and forth DJing while I was this marketing automation nerd during the week. And then finally, the two worlds came together when I was actually given a title of digital marketing director. I didn't even know what digital marketing was, but I was doing it. And I realized that was a moment where I could bring my creative side together with the marketing side. And that's how I ended up being a content marketer because I understood content and creating content, especially audio and video. Then I could apply it to the companies I work for in their marketing strategies. And that, of course, led to me starting Content Monster as a company.
So what year did you start Content Monster, and what was going to be different about what you were doing with Content Monster than what you were doing for the marketing company you used to work for?
Yeah, so that was 2017. And in 2017, I was a marketing director hiring agencies. And so I got a really good taste of what I didn't want agencies to do. Like most of them would take orders and say, oh, you want a video? What are the specs? Here's a video and hand it back to us. But they didn't know the why. They didn't know why it would benefit our business. They didn't know, how to make sure it was usable beyond just getting that one video, put it on YouTube or web page and be done with it. That just didn't work for me as a marketing director. And so one time I actually took something that I made for the company. I needed some video done. I had the skill to do it. I had the short amount of time. So I made some video for our company, posted it on YouTube and LinkedIn. And another company said, hey, Lee, can you do that for us? And it wasn't a conflict of interest. And so I began doing it for other companies. And so that was around 2016. I realized there's actually a niche for this. I can actually do this, creating content, video and audio content for businesses. and do it from an aspect from a marketer's point of view. I knew what they needed, why they needed it. And it wasn't just a project to say, we made the video, we're going to walk away now. It was, let's make some content for you that will drive business, that you can use over and over, that you can actually share this with your sales team to drive business. And so that's where Content Monster started. And that's where we are now. It's creating content that makes sense for business.
So what kind of content were you creating in the early days, and what kind of content are you creating now?
Yeah. Well, like a lot of agencies, we started out kind of a all-in-one, we do everything kind of marketing agency. And we learned really quickly that there were a lot of written content agencies out there. And if we're doing written content, we're competing with a lot of other agencies. But what we found was very few did audio and video very well. And then when it comes to video, at that time, even we were going out and doing video shoots. We were carrying equipment out, loading up the truck, going to places, shooting video. But that limited us to geography. We couldn't go but so far until the cost of doing it was more than the person in that local area. So we realized that we need to niche down, and doing all kinds of content, one, had us competing with everybody. And then two, we started getting calls from other agencies who needed help with multimedia. Mm-hmm. And I'll quickly learn that agencies tend to come from an area, whether you're a graphic designer and you start an agency, you're a writer, you start an agency. I didn't see a lot of audio video people starting agencies, other than the ones who were loading up a truck and doing, on-site shoots. So we realized that once we get good audio and video, in fact, we began interviewing sales teams. Because again, I always want to figure out how to make this work for business. The first content we made, even when I made for the company I was working for, we were interviewing the sales team members, and we were asking them questions that we knew their customers wanted to hear, like wanted to learn about. And so we began creating sales content that marketing could use to answer questions throughout the whole sales funnel so that they could have a 24-hour on salesperson. And so we realized, wait a minute, we don't actually have to write the content. In fact, we can't get the people with the knowledge, the salespeople, the C-suite, we can't get them to write an article. They're not going to do it. But what we can do is get on their calendar, have a conversation, and we've captured all their knowledge. And now we have that knowledge to create even better articles that no intern, no expert writer could have created because they weren't the expert. So we realized, okay, we finally found a way to jump over that gap of why should we even start with writing? So we start everything with audio and video.
So today, what kind of services are we talking about here? Are we talking about like podcasting? Are we talking about YouTube videos? What are we talking about that you're focused on today?
Yeah, it's funny. The story happens kind of right before the pandemic. We realized we're tired of hauling equipment across state lines trying to get more video gigs. And I was already facing back surgery from DJing so long, carrying speakers and equipment. So I'm like, how can we expand the company without having to haul around equipment? So around 2018, 19 or so, we began experimenting with remote production. So remote production of audio, podcasts, remote production of video. And we didn't realize we were going to launch it as a full service until the pandemic hit. Suddenly, everybody needed that kind of service because the video crews couldn't go out anymore. And so we were ready. And it was just a perfect storm of, as they say, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So we were ready. We didn't have to prepare. We didn't have to test all the software platforms and equipment. We were already ready. So we focused on podcasts first. We're in Atlanta. Our first client was actually in Seattle. I mean, that was pandemic hit, signed a customer from Seattle. And we began basically from the West Coast coming back this way to the East Coast because we were trying to figure out our time zones and how wide could we go. And so after doing podcasts primarily for a year or two, we began doing more video. And during that time, we also examined all the video platforms. What gives the best video quality? What's the best user experience for our client? All the way up till now, we had a client, we just recently did well over 100 videos in a couple months of their financial advisors. And so the thing behind that was you have people who are not creators, how do you get them to help create content for their companies when they're not comfortable on camera? They don't know what to say, or they have regulations in terms of what they can say. And so we came in there to provide scripts on teleprompters, video coaching to say, hey, Jim, can you fix your hair or move that plant, or that's copywritten behind you? Can you move that? Can you drink some water? All these little nuances, your forehead's shiny. Would you mind, all those things that a video coach, and sometimes I love watching our coaches because sometimes it's like, hey, think of something funny because he wants to get a smile out of somebody. The delivery matters. And it's almost like I see folks light up like, wow, I've got a coach to help me look good on video. And so yeah, our main content now is video and audio in terms of podcasting. And often it's just, how do we get this executive on screen on a call to record a quality conversation? And instead of having like infomercial sounding content, it's more of a thought leadership. Let's pull some things out of this person that are extemporaneous. And then that serves as content to show to their customers.
Excellent. Okay, so there are some people listening right now who really don't have a video strategy at all. And what do you want to say about the importance of having a video content strategy to those maybe who are just kind of randomly recording videos?
Well, it's important to have a strategy because we see two ends of the spectrum. Either they think video costs too much and they don't do it, or they blow their marketing budget on the wrong kinds of video at the wrong parts of the customer journey. So what I mean by that is, you think, let's get this one polished video. You put all your time, resources in there, your financial resources. You get this one beautiful video that everybody in the company signs off on, which is great for a certain part of the sales funnel. But now marketing's put all their chips in one basket to say, we're going to bet everything on this wonderful, shiny video we did. And, we did this ourselves early in the game when we were doing on-site shoots. We were shooting videos for clients. And even though we were still new into helping them repurpose it, they still spent a lot on one video. And that video might have been aimed at the bottom of the funnel, like a product video or one thought leadership video, but it didn't help the top of the funnel for awareness. Like, you need more quantity for that. So that's where your strategy comes in. What kind of video are we going to create? What part of the funnel are we going to aim it at? Where does quantity and quality, how do we mix that balance in there to make sure we have the right balance? And how do we keep the CFO happy on the budget we're spending? That's where, without a strategy, you make those mistakes, spending in the wrong place, creating the wrong kind of video, and not matching your customer. And you're just making marketing happy, maybe making beautiful stuff, but it doesn't drive business.
So the flip side of that is that with a good strategy in place, like we're about to talk about next, you could potentially have a steady stream of leads coming in, prospects coming in at the top of the funnel, and having various different kinds of video and audio content. But in this case, video content that you can target at people at the various stages of the journey, right? And
Yes.
and that's where having a strategy really can pay off because it can lead ultimately to revenue. Is that correct?
Exactly.
So let's talk about the first part of your strategy. We've got a 4-part strategy we're going to be exploring here, if I'm not mistaken. So what is the very first part of your strategy?
Well, I call the strategy the content QVQ balance, quality versus quantity. It's the QVQ balance. And the reason is because, Content Monster, the reason why we're called Content Monster is because at the beginning, we were creating so much content, people thought our company was much bigger than it was. And so quantity was very important and very effective in 2017, 18, 19. But now with the advent of AI, people are going after quantity and it's crap content. And so we realize and we evangelize there has to be a balance of quality and quantity. And when you try to examine which is the most important win, we say to match it to the sales funnel. And that'll help you understand not only what types of content to create, but also where to put your budget at. So the first stage of that is awareness. So the awareness stage, you want to lean heavier on quantity over having perfect content. Now, quality is still good. It's okay. But at this part, you're focusing on quantity. So your videos will be more short form than long form, blog articles, social media posts. And some of these things can go in different places, but we even put infographics here because you can crank out more infographics if you have the data behind them. And that can be used later on as well. But again, we're talking about quantity here, and quantity is not a bad word if you have a certain level of quality and you know who you're targeting. At the awareness phase, you're trying to get to a lot of people at the top of your funnel. So that's the first stage is quantity is sometimes I trip myself up. Quantity is where you want to be for the top of the funnel.
So, okay. So from a video lens, we're mostly talking about short form video here. So we're talking about TikToks, Reels, and Shorts. Is that really what we're talking about here?
Exactly. And because of that, you want to get your audience's attention before your competitor does, which means that, quick, short video that's not overly polished. Now, it could still be talking head of your experts, but let's say, for example, we interview somebody in a podcast, a video podcast even, and you just get some hot sound bites out of them, some gems of what they say that gives you an idea of what the company's about, what the leaders are about, what the product's about, just short snippet of that. And from that, you get that 30 seconds, 90-second snippet, and you can do a lot more of those. And even if you do sit them down for an hour, it isn't to get an hour piece of content. It's to get 15, 20 pieces of content from that hour sitting down. And then that way you can spread it wider and touch more people.
Well, and this is interesting because obviously this expands beyond TikTok and YouTube and Instagram, because you could also publish these on X/Twitter. You could publish them on LinkedIn. You could publish them on Facebook. They don't have to be, I've seen a lot of these kind of interviews where, like, for example, we do it on this show, right? Where we'll probably take Lee, the money clip of whatever you say, right? And we might post that up on Twitter because we have a really big following of over 600,000 people. And that's the kind of stuff you're talking about, right? Just finding those little clips. We talked about a real estate agent example when we were prepping for this. Do you remember that example? Can you share a little bit about that story?
Well, we've had a few, and one of them was their podcast. So it was a video podcast, and she had these conversations. And like you mentioned, you can get those hot takes, those gems in there. And so even for our clients who do podcasting and don't intend to do video, we still encourage them to roll the cameras just in case, because we can use those video clips to promote the podcast, even if it's an audio podcast. Like right now, I've got 2 cameras running, the one that I'm looking at you from and a side view, because we're going to chop this up and have God knows how much content from this particular podcast, in addition to yours. And it doesn't have to be vertical. For the financial advisors we work with, those people are using 16:9 wide width video to just introduce themselves to their customers. So that could be on their website, on their social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, primarily for them. And it's still short. It's still a minute or less, or maybe a minute and a half, but it gives an introduction. It gives some confidence to their prospects. And the main thing is, again, we've done hundreds of videos like that. Whereas had it been, let's set up a video shoot on site for one person, we can knock out 3 or 4 of these in an hour that are high quality, and for social. So that's one of the things we mentioned earlier with the strategy. If you think you need to do all this big production, then you're going to lose out on having enough quantity for your audience, and you're going to blow your budget.
So just on the call to action on these shorter form videos, what do you typically do at the end? Do you have like a screen that comes up with a text kind of call to action? Because not everybody knows how to take a bigger video. They know how to find maybe the good clip, but they don't know how to end it. So any tips on that?
Yeah. So right now we're leaning towards not such an obvious call to action. If I give you value, then typically that clip is in context of something. It's on a page, there's a link to my socials. So at most, what we typically do now is we end it with, it's like if you visualize, how if you share TikTok, they add a TikTok logo, like at the very end.
Right.
We're doing that for businesses. We'll splash up their business logo at the end. No call to action, no, come see us. The goal is to give value in that clip. Everybody pretty much knows.
Make it, so we're not trying to make it clear. We're not trying to make it clear that you should go over and listen to the podcast. This is just shareable content that hopefully people will share. Is that what I'm hearing you say? So they become more aware of your brand and want to follow you?
Exactly. Because most times it's in context. I mean, if it's on TikTok, for example, in that case, it's not on a page, but right below the video is a link to me, right? You can click on it and see more. So if I succeeded at giving you value, you'll find your way to me, right? If it's on a web page or on LinkedIn, anywhere that you can put text with the post, then the text can support the video to put the call to action there. But even if you have this amazing call to action, if the content doesn't serve value to the person watching, they won't click the call to action anyway. So what good is a call to action if you didn't give value to them in the first place?
Perfect. Okay. So the first stage of your process is the awareness phase. And this is where you're taking some longer form video and you're looking for the little, what I call the money clip, you call the gem, the gold, the diamond, whatever it is. We're looking for those little clips that are typically 60 seconds or less, right? And we're trying to make as many of these as we can in an ideal world and putting them out on the social platforms. Just out of curiosity, do you have a goal of trying to like some people just try to find one out of like a 45-minute interview, or are you, what's your recommendation on as far as quantity from one longer form video?
Well, it depends on the show. I mean, I think we'd be foolish to try to set a goal because then you end up searching for things that aren't there. So, you may have a guest who drops gems each time they answer a question. Then you may have some that are long-winded and don't give you any valuable gems.
Got it.
We do set, we have a service, we do this for other companies and we do set a number, but it may be like, hey, Mike, and this wouldn't happen to you, but we may be like, we have this video from your keynote and we're going to do 20 clips for you. We got about 15 really good ones. Do you have anything else? Because again, we're not just order takers. We're trying to be a trusted advisor to help you create good content. We're not going to just say, hey, you said you pay for 20, we're going to give you 20 and 5 of them are crap. We know that, but you pay for it. That wouldn't be fair. That would be going back to when I was the marketer hiring people, what I hated to get. You need to understand why. So to answer your question, we set a goal, but we're also not against saying, hey, we didn't get it out of this one.
Well, and I think the take home for a lot of people is, hey, especially if you're already creating podcasts like we do, multiple every week, there might be some interviews, like we have 4 different live shows that we're producing. This is one of them. There might be some interviews where there might be a lot more than just one little 60-second video we can make. And we might be missing opportunities by only producing one of these, right? Because we might be able to find 7 or 8 of these and just kind of sprinkle them out over time. And we might be leaving some opportunities on the table. That's kind of what I'm hearing you say, right?
Yeah. I mean, and there's 2 ways to go about it too. I mean, just yesterday we did someone's keynote. We got 20 gems out of it. And one of the reasons why it's easier from keynotes and podcasts, for example, is because the keynotes are planned.
Right.
Every slide should have a point. So every slide could be a gem in there, at least one. So if you take that process and apply it to your podcast, when I interview someone on a podcast, I try to get at least as many gems out of that as I have questions. So I'm going to ask them a question with the intention of getting a gem. And if I need to tweak it or re-ask the question a different way, I'll do that. So as a marketer, if you're interviewing your CEO, if you're interviewing a guest on your podcast, you want to try to draw those out with a plan. Again, your strategy. Like, I want to get 5 clips from this. So let me ask 5 questions at least that will lead to these 5 gems. If you're creating this for your sales team and you're going to use it in your sales strategy, then you're going to think about what are 5 questions that our customers always ask. And then you ask that expert, hey, expert, how do you solve this problem? Then they answer the solution. Boom, there's your gem because you set them up for it.
Love it. Okay. What's the next part of your stage? We talked about awareness. What comes next?
So the next part is interest. So at this point, they've signaled that they're interested, which means that you can keep their attention a bit longer. So therefore your content can get longer. So that's where your videos can go from short form to long form. You can still have some short, but now you can head into the long form content. Your podcasts, of course, are a little bit longer form content, and you're still capturing the short while you're doing this, of course, right? And then also your newsletters and your webinars, because these are people who have signaled that they are interested. So now you're saying basically, let's have a bit more of your time. Let's come to this webinar, listen to this podcast. And so while you're doing that, of course, you're creating short form content to keep the awareness going for others. So you're creating content now for the interest stage, but you're planning those snippets to put back at the top of the funnel to keep the awareness going, right? So every layer we go deeper into the sales funnel as we match this content to it, we're creating content to throw it back to the top of the funnel, right? So your long form content happens now, and back to the quality versus quantity part. Now your quantity is going down a bit. You're producing less of that. I mean, you can do, 20, 30 snippets, but only 1 or 2 podcasts a month, right? So your quantity is going down, but your quality is coming up, right? So whereas you might have a video clip where the audio wasn't great, but the value was there and you got 10 of them, now your podcast, your audio quality must be coming up. You're going to do fewer pieces of this kind of content, fewer webinars, fewer newsletters, fewer long form videos, and your quality is raising up and you're targeting the interest level of the buyer stage.
Okay, so when we're at this interest stage, a couple questions come to mind, especially on the social platforms. Is it make sense to publish these longer form videos on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter/X, or is it better to have them somehow opt in and then discover more about you through, for example, YouTube, which is an obvious longer form medium where we can show these longer form videos? Just what's your thoughts as far as distribution of these longer videos?
Well, it's never an or, it's an and.
Okay.
So you're still creating this short form content because you don't know at what part of this funnel that your buyer is in. And buyers don't go in a linear fashion through a funnel anyway. They come down, they go out of the side of the funnel, come back around the top, come back in again. So you may have lost someone's interest. Then they pick you up again on Instagram or TikTok or even a short on LinkedIn. Now they're coming back down again. So you keep cycling them back to the top until they consume the longer form content. So it's not an or.
But where is the longer form content published? I guess that's really what I'm asking.
Where? Okay. So I would say wherever the platform allows it, okay. Right? So even though, like, for example, TikTok is lengthening all the time for a reason. Instagram did the same thing. All the platforms over time lengthen. So take advantage of that. People are watching very long TikToks right now. So you want to have the content there because if you've already got their awareness and they're interested, that's the signal. I mean, if they're interested, if you convince them to watch you, then give them more, and it can be more in a longer form. So wherever you're posting the short, post along as well, as long as you can hold that attention, the content's valuable. This is why all the platforms, like, YouTube was designed for long form, and then they put in short form. Right. And all the short forms are adding in long form. There's a reason for that, right? We know that the statistics stand behind that people are going to one platform style and consuming other types of content. So the where is the same place as your short, as long as the platform will allow it.
Okay, so when we're talking about this longer form video, talk to me about the importance of storytelling and other aspects that we cannot get across as easily in the short form video that might make for a better quality longer form video.
Yeah, so it may be a case of, let's say, for example, you found 3 gems out of a conversation. Now that becomes 3 ways to do so-and-so, or 3 things you haven't thought of about this. Then you get all 3 at one time. And for the person who's there for longer content, they can actually consume the longer content. They can get all 3 at one time because they're interested. They'll watch longer. So the clips you find for your gem, think about that as your research for what will be my long form. So if you find 4 or 5, 6 gems in your short form content, and then you can see what resonates, that is your structure. That's your roadmap to the long form. If you have a clip that bombs or that you think didn't resonate, don't put it in your long form. But at least now you have, think of it as a lot of like A, B, C, D, E, F, G tests that you've put out there, right? and you pick out the A, G, and Fs that worked, put them together in long form content, and you already have some assurity that it's going to resonate.
When you are coaching people to create video, you kind of hinted that you're not just coaching them to create the short form stuff, you're also looking for the longer form stuff. So for other people who want to experiment with this, what are some of the things outside of just talking about tips a little bit longer that you might recommend we do to either A, draw people in, or B, make some sort of a connection with the audience that we're trying to make? Do you have any tips on anything along those lines?
Yeah, well, the first tip is learn how to talk in sound bites.
Okay.
Like, act as if you know the camera's rolling, which it should always be. And so think about how to convey a message in a short way, because if you do drop that gem, you want to share it without a lot of editing to do so. So not only does talking in sound bites help out your selection of short form video, it also makes you be more concise so that when you do the long form video, it moves along. It keeps the pace going. It keeps you from meandering beyond the point. It helps you create a soundbite that you can get your point out and stop talking. See, I just did that right there.
So just out of curiosity, just so people, because right now what I'm hearing you say is like, hey, a lot of these short form videos can be kind of combined together with some creative editing to make longer form video. But still in my mind, that might give me a 3-minute video, but it's not going to give me a 30-minute video or a 15-minute video, right? So are there certain kinds of things that typically would go beyond just talking in sound bites? Or when you say longer form, are you really talking? You're not talking like 45 minutes, are you? Are you talking about like 3-minute videos, or what are we talking about here?
Yeah, I'm talking 3 to 5 minute videos. I mean, you can go longer. That's when you get into your webinar style stuff and your podcasts. And even then, you want to have a structure. Like, for example, we have a client, we do a lot of B2B and B2C. This particular one's kind of B2B2C. And they have a lot of research, and they structure their podcast around that research. But this research could be 20 pages of content. How do you have a conversation about that and keep it within a time frame and make sure you get your points in there? So we work with their marketing team. We get this research from them. We condense it down to bullet points. Never a script, because scripts, you sound like a script. No matter how much you try, you're going to sound like you're reading a script.
Right.
The bullet points. And what that does is, from a marketer standpoint, the marketing team wants to hit these points. We want to answer these questions. We want sales buy-in on, hey, you created content I can actually use. So instead of having that conversation just meander for 30, 45 minutes, we say, here's a question. Here's 2 ways you want to answer it. Here are the bullet points you want to hit. So it's all planned out, but it's planned out in a way that it sounds natural. It's a natural conversation, but the end result is your marketing team gets what they want out of that conversation, and their work is a lot less because they plan the conversation with a framework around it.
Okay. So far we've talked about 2 different stages. We started with the awareness stage, and the awareness stage is the simple, short form video content where you're providing a soundbite of an example without any call to action necessarily baked into it. The next stage down is the interest stage. This is where people want to go a little bit deeper. And this
Actually,
is
we're
what
in consideration now.
I'm sorry, but are we in consideration?
Yes. 3rd stage is consideration.
No, I know. I'm summarizing the second stage. It's okay. So in the interest stage, which was the second stage, right, that we talked about, that stage, this is where you bring some of your best from the awareness stage together into a slightly longer video where there might be 3 different points, or maybe where you do a little bit more, like if you have one of these short form videos that did really well and you want to expand upon it a little bit, maybe make it a little bit longer and add a little more context to it and dig in a little bit, like on that particular thing. That's what we're really talking about here, which is still kind of in the grand scheme of things, not super long form content, more like mid form content, right? And then there is this next stage. Go ahead. Explain the next stage.
Yeah, so the next stage is consideration. And I should remind listeners or viewers that the reason why we're talking about these sales type funnel is because oftentimes that's one of the disconnects between marketing and sales, is that marketing creates content and doesn't understand why and where and who they're targeting this content to. And as we mentioned earlier about a strategy, you can't just create content without knowing who your audience is and where they are in their journey. And so sales understands this. They always see these funnels, but oftentimes marketing isn't involved in that funnel. So that's why we align these content types to the stage in the funnel. So now we're at the consideration stage, and the QVQ, quantity versus quality. We've crossed the halfway mark now. Your quality is rising up. The quality is a lot more important. Quantity, you're going to produce a lot less of this content, and you're going to have a lot more quality to do so. So now is where you're going to have case studies and research, and this also can be conversations that you capture on video. Some people, buyers, prefer consuming content on video, and if you can get it to them in that format, then they are going to watch longer. If you go to a website, the ones that have video on them tend to do better on those pages because people can actually stick around and watch deeper content. Like, you can give someone some research, but it means so much more when there's a person explaining the research. You can see their emotions, their nuances behind what they really believe about this research. And so now you have longer form content. You can have your experts, your thought leaders really digging into, hi, I'm this expert. This is what I know. This is why I know it. Let me share more information with you. You can now start talking about your product. You can get into demonstrating the product. You can have your longer form videos that say, well, you were aware of our software. You were interested in our software. Now let me show you how this thing works. You've gotten to the point where I can sit you down for 5, 10, 15 minutes to walk you through the software demo. So now you're talking about, like I said, again, fewer pieces of content that you can put more time into, more quality tips in here. And also for those who, I bought a lot of software over my career, and often I go to see, even before I buy, what is the community like for this software? If I need help, what kind of content can I watch to teach me about this software? Will I be by myself? Will I be dependent on a support ticket, or can I watch tons of video to learn how to do this? So now here's where your FAQ videos, your knowledge-based videos, your tutorials come in. You can go through your entire product. People are able and willing to watch product demos and product descriptions and all these things because they're definitely considering buying from you.
So this content, which is like, here's how the software works, or here's how to use our product, or here's how to install this thing, if it's a physical thing that's getting installed in your house or something like that. I would imagine these could live on YouTube, but they also likely should live on your website. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And the problem that lots of companies face is they start here. They start with this kind of content, and they're starting with content designed for consideration stage. And the two problems with that are, one, it's too long for somebody who doesn't even know about you yet. Mm-hmm. And two, you can't produce enough of it to get them in the top of the wide part of the funnel. You need to hit a lot of people. You need to touch multiple, marketers understand multi-touch. You need to have multiple touches, and you cannot do a massive amount of multiple touches if you have these blockbuster videos you're creating that blows your budget and takes too long. Meanwhile, your competitors throwing out 10 pieces of content today, and you're throwing out one today or one this month, and they're throwing out hundreds this month. We even see that on television nowadays. We see more TV created faster. We've seen Super Bowl commercials done during the Super Bowl. That's fast content that you can hit the masses with. You save the polished, long form, harder to create stuff for the consideration stage because you're going to do less of it.
Now, this is just a thought that came into my brain, but some of these might make for good advertisements. I would imagine, and I don't know if the consideration videos are worthy of placing into an ad, but if you know that people have watched some of these other videos on these platforms, you can do retargeting, right, to those people. Do you find that some of these videos work well as ads, or are they better to be placed predominantly on the website when someone goes there? I'm just curious what you've seen with your clients.
Absolutely. They can be used as ads. And again, this is where some of the old school traditional mindset creeps in, because you think, oh, let's do a video, and the video ends up being an ad. you still have senior executives or marketers who think that every video should be an ad. And in this stage, it works. At this stage, when they're considering you, then yeah, your content can look more like an ad because you're pushing towards a call to action. Before the consideration stage, when they're just learning about you and they're just becoming interested, that content should never look like an ad. If your top of the funnel content looks like an ad, it's the wrong kind of content. It needs to be awareness and interest content that's not got a strong call to action. But once you get to the consideration stage, absolutely, Mike, it can look like an ad. It can be close to an ad. This is where even if it's, I hate to say a cringy word, infomercially, it is information and you do want a call to action. So yeah, if you're heading into the infomercial zone, and it's okay because they've already given you permission to say, I'm interested, convince me. Now's the time for content that can also be doubled or boosted, whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn, can be boosted as an ad because it has value and it has a strong call to action.
Perfect. Let's talk about the bottom of the funnel type of content.
Right. Okay. So we've gone through awareness, interest, consideration, and now we're down to action. We're trying to get them across the line to buy something. They're hitting your landing pages. You're having call to actions on the landing page. You now can have video to support those call to actions. Like, I know about you. I'm considering buying from you, but I need a little bit more convincing. That's where you have content that says, maybe a customer saying, hey, we've used this software. This is why it's successful for us. So your case study video, it doesn't have to be full case study with a formality. It could be just, a customer, I use this. This is why we called your company, this company. This is why we use it. This is how it worked for us. Longer form video could be several customers. So your testimonials, this is where you can have, your trials and explanations of how to use the software. It's almost like a taste of onboarding. Like, I haven't quite bought it yet, but I want to know if I click this button and give you my money or sign this contract, what happens next? So there's what happens next videos, and it can be literally what happens next, but it also could be a peek into the other side. Like, this is what our customers are doing right now, right? So it's not necessarily awareness or consideration. It's like, you're ready to click this button. We want you to take action. And here is what is waiting for you on the other side. So that's where that kind of content comes in. And it definitely, as you mentioned earlier, this is even more possible to be a commercial. But the difference is you've already got them to the edge of clicking that button. So you want to start acting like they're already part of the family. Like, hey, we're glad you got to this point. You're about to join on this journey of, fixing your process automation or whatever your software is. And that video now can speak to them in a different language as if they're already part of the family.
Interesting. And I would also think that some of these videos could be useful for existing customers too, could it not? If you have new features, for example?
Exactly. Well, once they've finished the bottom of the funnel, then you're in the loyalty phase. So there's actually a fifth area called loyalty. And in that loyalty phase, then, you're going to have some exclusive customer content, some things that only your customers can see. You can also kind of tease that before the buy button to say, we have all this content. We're going to make sure you're the best you can be at your field because you're using our product. Here's a taste of how wonderful your life will be and how much more content you'll have access to once you're a customer. You're not a customer yet, so you can't see this, but we have it for you on the other side. So that's where you have your exclusive customer content, your community type content to say, once you're inside the community, you have access to all this information that'll make you a better marketer because you're a part of the family. So that's in the loyalty phase once they already click the button and buy from you.
Awesome, Lee. Lee, if people want to discover more about you, where do you want to send them? And also, what's your preferred social platform if they want to connect with you on the socials?
So my preferred social platform is LinkedIn. That's where I live. That's where I primarily start all my content there. I'm on other platforms. Either way, it's all A. Lee Judge. A is my first initial, Lee, L-E-E, Judge like in a courtroom, A. Lee Judge. So they can find me on all my socials there. The company Content Monster, where we create content for other companies, is Content Monster. The quick backstory on that was, like I said, when I was a smaller company, people thought like, wow, Lee, you're a content monster. So that's where the name came from because the amount of content we created. But the domain name Monster was like $6,000 and it wasn't worth the bet at the time. So Content Monster, M-O-N-S-T-A. is the company, contentmonster.com. If you want to talk to me in terms of consulting or coming out to speak to your company, that's aleejudge.com. And you mentioned the book earlier. I'm excited about the book. It's called Cash. It's a book that I say is for salespeople who need to understand marketing and for marketers who need to understand sales. It helps bring those two teams together. If you're going to go into either one of those fields, you need to learn and understand the others. And the book launch, we're marketers. We do special stuff. We're going to have like a golden ticket type scenario for some of the early books that people receive. We're going to do some trading card things, a lot of special things for folks who get the book early. So if you want to sign up for the early release list, just go to aleejudge.com/cashbook, aleejudge.com/cashbook. That's all my stuff, Mike. You can find me there, and I look forward to seeing you all and telling you about the book and building community around that and helping marketers and salespeople out with their marketing, both on the content side and on the sales side.
Lee, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today.
Thank you, Mike.